Are you recording it? I can't read it. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right. Thank you everyone for coming. I'd like to call to order the Board of Aldermen meeting for October 2nd. First order of business, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Kim, can you call the roll? Here.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Whitman.
Here.
Alderman Paulson.
Here.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
First and double seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Do we have anyone for public comment?
My name is Cheryl Bratton. My husband Larry and I live on Cruden Bay Court in Inverness subdivision. As you know, the Asheville area in northwest North Carolina has been decimated by flooding associated with Hurricane Helene and the rainfall. The area is so isolated that a full week since the storm hit, only now is the outside world starting to see video footage of the devastation. I'm painfully aware that there are people in the metro area who are hurting, hungry, homeless, and need help. But in North Carolina, schools, churches, hospitals, shelters, grocery stores, water, electricity, phone service, roads, pets that have been separated from their owners, mental health services, there is nothing left in any way, shape, or form that would resemble what we would consider a workable infrastructure. Yesterday, the news report came out that in order to get water and other and food to the victims, they had to air flight them in and drop them, and they had to use mules to backpack them in. FEMA and the Red Cross are doing their best, but getting to the residents is nearly impossible. There just aren't any roads. I'm asking the board to think outside the boundaries of Darden Prairie and perhaps partner with other municipalities in the county to brainstorm ways this city and its residents can in the future extend some level of care and comfort to those whose lives have been destroyed. This is not going to be a short-term situation. And if you've seen any of the limited footage that has been shown, it's horrifying. Thank you.
Joel King, 2 Toussaint Drive. I'm here to speak about Stump Road and mainly the runoff ditch. I was invited to attend the Stump Road update meeting last Thursday. Got to talk to, I believe his name is Doug from Understall, as in reference to the runoff. And I asked him specifically, they now have pipes along the culverts on both sides of Stump. They tie into the inlets, which all run to the beginning of the ditch, of the runoff ditch. In that ditch, or out of that ditch, there's a 58-inch pipe, and I believe it's a 1-foot pipe and an 18-inch pipe coming out. And I specifically asked him, if all that water is coming through those 2 pipes now and heading directly to the front of that ditch, isn't that going to increase the speed of the water? Yeah. So the erosion is going to definitely increase. Well, yeah. And if you go there and look, I've had a couple people come by and look, and you'll see the roots that have been cut already. And he even said, oh, those trees are going to die. They're history. We've had to cut the roots. So what do? And we brought up the downstream study that was never done. And was it never done because they did not want to know the answer to it? which was, this is going to be pure hell for me and probably everybody else downstream, because just about every bit of water now is heading directly to the beginning of that ditch, as to where before, when it ran off Stump Road or wherever, it might run through part of my yard, my neighbor's yards, and then enter the ditch in a different area. Now it's all directed right there. And if the sign there, the thing I just passed you, Tree City USA, I'm going to lose, well, I've already lost 7 pine trees, which they said need to be taken down pretty quickly because they're working on that section. I don't know who in the city has to do, because they said the city was going to do that for me. But now I'm probably going to lose every tree along that ditch. Who is responsible? I mean, did HR Greens not do the proper thing? Did the city not do the proper investigating to see what is going on and what's going to happen if Stump Road is done this way? I mean, it's ridiculous. They've cut, I don't know how many different lines. It's been nothing but pure mess from the beginning. And it's going to get uglier, at least on my property, with all this going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members of the Board of Aldermen. Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. First of all, I'd like to follow off of what Cheryl had stated. Let's offer prayer, hope, and assistance, especially to the city of Asheville, North Carolina. Population 94,000 people, and they have a large homeless contingent within that community and outlying communities. With all the flooding going on in Asheville, there's hundreds of lives that are going to be lost, unfortunately. The flooding in Northwest North Carolina and the Tennessee Valley area, loss of life. Our hearts go out to those families and to those communities. I spoke before the St. Charles City Council yesterday, and there are larger cities than the city of Jordan Prairie. And I asked the mayor and the city council to send a crew and a dump truck to the city of Asheville, North Carolina, to offer a helping hand. As you all know, we have flooding here in St. Charles County, and it goes both ways. We may need help someday, and I think we need to offer help. Maybe the city of Jordan Prairie can offer some surplus property or something that's not being used for the governments in the city of Asheville and the North Carolina area. In Israel, in the Middle East conflict war with Lebanon now, and yesterday, Iraq launched over 200 missiles, the most missiles launched at any country in the world's history. And unfortunately, there will be retaliation by the Israeli government. And so we want to ask for prayers and to make sure that no more lives are lost. Under chapter 610.021, 610.022, 610.023, I often meet at county council meetings and make verbal requests under the State Sunshine Law and Open Meetings Act for open records. You held as a Board of Aldermen a special meeting, closed session on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, and a closed session tonight, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. The public needs transparency, which Mayor Gotway never believed in, saying a word to the community. But I believe this new Board of Aldermen has that transparency and that responsibility to, after 72 hours, come out to the public with a statement. And I believe that the community needs to know all decisions, actions, individual votes taken in the closed door, closed to the public meetings. I really believe in that transparency. And so under the State Sunshine Law, I'm making that request in this meeting and on the official public record. Now, I was kind of baffled by the community college district trying to take over the city, the parks and other contractual agreements with the trails and stuff. The proposal contingent by the State Department of Higher Education and the General Assembly appropriations. I'll sum it up real quick here. They're looking for money between $6.5 million to $12 million to build a tilt-up prefabricated concrete building and a cafe. Do not allow the community college to push you around and take land and recreational opportunities away from the community. Thank you, Mr. President.
Speaker. Moving down to new business, we have Town Square Vision Steering Committee final report and recommendation. We do have the chairman of the committee. Would you mind giving us an update and let us know what happened?
Evening, Aldermen. Like to provide a summary, conclusion, and a recommendation from the Town Square Vision Steering Committee. Give you kind of a summary. The Town Square Vision Committee was established by the Board of Aldermen on May 3rd by Board Resolution 369. On the 19th of July, through that resolution 369, the Board of Aldermen approved 11 committee members. On the meeting of 8/21, we recommended the hiring of PGAV. Second meeting was on 9/25, and that was the first meeting with PGAV and our first real work session. On 9/25, the committee then narrowed the focus area further to 3 specific development areas: Town Square Avenue, Post Road, Hers Farm Lane, Town Square, and then the third Technology Drive corridor. On the 11/2/23 was the first public meeting that was held at the ICD parish. The website was established, and it promoted the work and the collection of additional public input and data throughout the process. On 11/6/23, the committee met to review the data collected from the public meeting and give input on the visualization presented at the public meeting. On December the 4th, 23, the committee met to refine the plan before the public meeting number 2. At this meeting, the committee struggled to coalesce around a clear path forward and requested that additional work session discussion be held to further review and refine the information prior to the next public meeting number 2. While this meeting was outside the scope of the agenda that was agreed to, it was vital to have additional conversations and refinement of the development scenarios so we have a clear direction to PGAV ahead of the second public meeting. On January 8th, 2024, the committee met again and in what was called a true work session format. We started with a specific project area and asked each member individually to give their thoughts for more input and participation. This meeting was highly effective and even though it was a lengthy meeting, it was probably our most engaged, and the entire group was involved in that process. Everyone participated and everyone's voice was heard. Eventually, the committee was able to give a clear direction to PGAV, and we were ready for the second public meeting. Additional committee meetings took place for on March the 11th, 24, and April 1st, 24. So various dates were offered. A quorum of the committee was never really expected because of the conflicts that each of them had. On September the 11th, 24, the final meeting was scheduled and approved in the minutes of the various meetings, the 11/6/23, 12/4/23, January 1st, January 8th, 24, March 11th, 24, and the April 1st, 24 committee meetings were all discussed and were approved. There were 7 members present at this meeting. At the 9/11 meeting, additional discussion was sought to have the committee reach the conclusion and make a recommendation to the Town Square Vision Committee. Motion was made. Motion was as follows. Motion was made by Commissioner Woolridge, seconded by Member Branch, to forward the report 57-page report. To forward the report to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and if appropriate, to the Board of Aldermen with recommendation that it be used as a reference report for new development in the project area. It would also be in everyone's best interest to include a financial model. So roll call was taken and that passed. So in conclusion, I just simply told everyone I appreciated the time that they took being on the committee and the efforts that were put forward. Any questions?
I want to say thank you and the rest of the committee for the long hours spent discussing and deliberating this and for seeing it through to the end. Very much for your service.
You were there. Thank you.
Part of it.
Can I ask a question? Brian and I were talking about this. Do we get a copy of that plank, that a summary, Carl?
It should be
Is it part of it?
Kim.
Yeah.
Okay, right, right.
The last one is
Yeah.
dated April of this year, 2024.
Okay, thank you so much for clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on that.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you.
Is this 24, 25? Is this going to be administrative or red ones?
So, question for the city engineer, the change order from HR Green, has that work already been approved and completed or underway, or is it?
We had no choice but to put our new concrete road on top of it.
Naturally.
So
So I guess it would be an administrative.
Yeah.
Motion
to read Bill 24
Can I ask another question? Real quick?
by title.
mind if we read first?
No, that's fine.
Second.
Okay.
First by Alderman Whitman, second by Alderman Johnson, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Bill 2445, an ordinance of the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri, approving change order number 2 for the Stump Road Reconstruction and Improvement Project. Alderman Goodmeyer?
Yeah, so this was, just for clarification, this was for the phase 2, and this doesn't include moving that gas pipe, because I've been told today that they don't have to move it. You heard that?
That's not, but it's
Okay.
soil removal.
Okay, very good.
and
Thank you.
replacing the top.
All right.
Does everyone have this or have you seen this? The change order?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she just
Okay.
did.
This change order amount is $10,827.45 and is limited to just the removal and replacement of unsuitable grade materials.
Motion to read Bill 2445 for the second time by title only.
Second.
Second by Alderman Johnson, or motion by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderman Whitman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Bill 2445, an ordinance of the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri, approving change order number 2 for the Stump Road Reconstruction and Improvements Project. More discussion or debate?
About Stump Road? Just want to clarify about this bill.
We
Okay.
could certainly talk about Stump Road in a limited fashion if it's really.
Well, can we talk about it just at the end then?
Yeah.
That's fine.
That makes
Sounds
sense.
good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, entertain a motion for roll call vote.
A motion roll call vote for Bill 2445.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Woodman, second by Alderman Johnson. Will you please call the roll? Aye.
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 319. All right, moving on, Bill 2446, entertain a motion to read for the first time.
So moved.
Second.
First by Alderman Woodman, second by Alderman Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Bill 2446, an ordinance of the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri, amending chapter 210 offenses of the municipal code of the city and enacting a new section 210.195 concerning the maintenance of sidewalks, driveways, and weeds.
Alderman Johnson, did you Want to move this to the next meeting similarly to what we did in the work session?
We can, unless people have more questions on it.
I personally am satisfied with the changes impacted to the original ordinance. I think it meets the criteria that the board discussed in the last meeting.
I'd like to talk about it a bit.
Go ahead.
It looks like the change, because at first I was reading and I'm like, nothing's changed. But then I saw D, item D, the section shall not apply to any lot or ground containing only a single family dwelling and any related accessory structures thereon, where the principal use of such dwelling is for residential purposes. This would seem to exempt our residents from having to maintain that, that's, that ground, that sidewalk, whatever, on an easement. Because and I had my neighbor who, she made a very compelling argument talking about how it's not going to be covered by insurance and there was a worry there. So just trying to be explicitly clear that residents are not going to be required to maintain that area, especially if you have easement, backyard easement, sidewalk, and then what if you have a little patch of grass there? Because we talked about clearing out, not having to salt sidewalks, not having to do that. But we want to make sure, because again, our neighbor was saying how she called up and they said you would not be covered by their homeowner's insurance. Again, just want to make explicitly clear that this covers that.
Yeah, I agree. It's,
Well, so this exempts them from the requirement of this code section. That's correct.
And I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like just related to the sidewalk clearing and did cover any sort of ground, because again, as Angie McAllister pointed out, it's not covered by her insurance. She's going to be on her own. So we don't want that to happen in order to get the prairie to cut their grass.
Another item of clarification, does this affect townhomes or those properties that have shared walls? Does that count as single family residential if they are sectioned out into individual lots?
I'd have to double check that. I believe they are. In the event, more often than don't do the.
Yep.
But anywhere around that is. Anyone, that's the Alderman, does anyone have townhomes, duplexes, anything like that, that are not part of some kind of land maintenance?
Oh,
and that I can think of in Ward 3.
But maybe mood, at least for the
For
current
the current
footprint.
time.
Okay. All right.
Comfortable with moving forward with it?
yeah, I'm good with it.
We've read once,
Motion to read.
well, this would be a item that we would do next. We'd move on to the next, right?
Okay, well, see, it's already in Bill 2444 from the old business. Is that a different, is that,
So that's the old bill with
Right.
the language.
We'll postpone that
It was
indefinitely.
It was presented as a new bill, so it would be appropriate for one reading of this bill tonight,
Okay.
postponement indefinitely of this.
okay. Motion to postpone Bill 2446, second reading for the next meeting?
Do we need to?
We need to do that?
It's not
It's
necessary.
procedure, right? Okay.
Okay. All right, so moving on to old business. I'm guessing we read one time 2425. Entertain a motion to read for a second time?
I would like to have a discussion about this briefly. Alderman Detweiler and I have had some communications about this, and I think that she'd like to recommend some final changes, and that we could approve tonight with a few additional minor changes. I think the board is in concurrence with it.
What amendments would you propose?
Okay, it's probably easier if we just go through it. Everybody got it in front of them?
Give me a second, it's coming.
Okay. I got my stuff out of order.
Okay, we ready?
Ready?
Yeah. Look,
Okay,
give us 2 seconds. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Laura, it's in your packet.
I know, but my packet got out of order.
Oh.
Here, take mine.
Some problems.
Take mine. We've already talked about it.
And I'm intending, okay, we'll share.
I got it.
Oh, do you?
Got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, page 1 is fine. Okay. Page 2, where you go down and you see fireworks season. Not really, what we're doing is we're changing the fireworks season to be only the 3rd and 4th of July. Not gonna be the 2nd through the 5th, 3rd and the 4th only.
Should we go individually through these and vote on the amendments? Or would you prefer to have these as a package and vote all of them at once?
I think we should, my recommendation would be to read through everything, and if anybody else has concern with them, we can do what if it could be accepted as a package, would likely be the easiest.
You know, I mean, and I don't like to be a devil's advocate, but
Yeah, you did.
whether you,
Sorry, I said, yeah, you did.
whether you make it the 2nd to the 5th or the 3rd and 4th, it's basically unenforceable to begin with. But that, I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, the police officer said they could enforce it if people
Well,
call.
they can enforce it, but it,
We're hoping people will,
They can enforce it within the bounds of Garden Prairie,
you know.
20 feet to the left or right where it's O'Fallon, they can't.
And I tend to agree with you, Alderman Johnson. We have, I agree completely. I think this at least gives an opportunity where if it's 3 or 4 days before and somebody's shooting fireworks off at midnight, it's clearly outside of the bounds of multiple rules that we would set up as a city around this. So I think that you're gonna continue to have that, but
The other point of it was that the 2nd to the 5th was a process of incorporating the weekends into it. And it then people could have fireworks on the weekends. But I'm not arguing however you want to do it. I'm just trying to say that was intent of the 2nd to the 5th was to incorporate the weekend.
on. The next page. Section 2.212.030, discharging fireworks permitted when between the hours of, we're gonna go ahead and leave on the 3rd and the 4th, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. But you'll see where we're changing it later down in the permitting part.
Can you say that one more time, extending from 10 PM to 11 PM?
No, what I said was, as it is in here, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., we're leaving that the way it is.
it's currently.
Mine says that.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
she's
I marked it and it looked like it was a.
Okay.
extended to 11.
Extended to 11. But down here under fireworks discharge permits, type required when. Under that section later on, we're going to go back to the 10 o'clock time that it is in here. So I'm just designating the time difference between regular fireworks through 3rd and 4th of July, and then back in the permits. The permit should say from 6 to 10, like it does here in this resolution.
And if I may add, the thinking behind that and the discussions that we had around this was putting it at 10 o'clock when it gets dark, fully dark in the summertime on the 4th of July around 9:30, 9:40 allowing residents to, in the dark, only shoot for fireworks for 20 minutes when people often pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars, pool money together as a neighborhood. That didn't seem fair. So going to 11 gives that about an hour, a little bit more an hour of darkness for fireworks show in the summertime. Permits, on the other hand, they should be, if they were to give a permit for an HOA to have a block party at dark, that would start, and that should be a pretty quick thing. So that was kind of the idea behind that.
Thanks for that clarification, because I was wondering about.
Yeah.
What time of it? Because it was pretty uniform in the cities around us. When did they?
10:30 to 11. Time frame?
Right. Sorry.
I
didn't
think
say
that it was a
right.
mix between 10:30 and 11. I don't think I ever saw one that was 10.
So again, underneath the next section down, under number 1. It says no permit issued pursuant to this section shall be issued for, we'd like to insert there, more than one day, just in case somebody thinks they can get one for a weekend, or a state holiday set forth in section 9.010, RSMO, as amended, Saturday only.
Carl, I really hate to ask this, but could you repeat that? I apologize. Right, and I was trying to find something on his laptop and I was like, ooh,
Sure.
sorry.
No permit issued.
Now, where you at exactly?
What section?
What?
What section?
212.4.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
A1.
Oh, 1, okay. All right, thank you.
Number 1,
Yes.
no permit issued pursuant to this section shall be issued for more than one day or any day other than a state holiday set forth in section 9.010, RSMO, as amended on Saturday only. John, you can wordsmith that however you need to, but
I'm wondering if that might be better for item 2. That limits the hours and then specify that it's within, can only be for one day or add another number.
Carl, I do have a question about that part right there. In my community, I'm gonna ask Cheryl Bratton to help me out. What is the holiday? For some of my residents will celebrating in November. Yeah, Hindi holiday.
Wally.
Yeah, so on that day, could that be added? It's not a national. It does. Yeah, it does not, it's not a national holiday.
I think they get a permit for it.
None
I
of this.
don't think so. The reason being because each individual will light off their own in front of their house. I apologize, I don't know the full explanations of the holiday, but I just want to see if that could be added so we don't have residents getting in trouble and not knowing why they're in trouble.
It wouldn't be considered a state holiday, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Correct.
But I think
Yeah, it's
Oh, really?
it's something like that. I just don't want people to get in trouble.
it's a slippery slope as well to start to apply to specific things. Or the RSMO coverage of that particular holiday, I think is something that's, and I don't know what holidays fall into that. John, do you have any handy dandy books that can tell us what that RSMO covers? And if they,
Just a note on that, though, if the standard is to fire off fireworks every night there, then that would
Yeah.
breach the 6 permits per
I
year. for the
agree.
entire
I
city,
agree.
with just that 1 week.
However,
So,
I
think
know
we got other-
communication could be given to them and maybe we work something out, but I just want to make sure I might say the right thing to my residents. Just to make sure we are clear. And
Remind me, as far as these rules go, do they cover prohibitions on like fountains or something like that that doesn't go up, explode in the air and all that? Can they use that as a substitute to
It's
5-inch mortars?
fireworks too,
Okay.
at least commercial grade.
That's going on.
Oh, really? I agree with you. I don't want. Well, if I could ask for
Sure.
clarification on the amendment. So on subsection 1, that amendment you just read. So the intent is that instead of saying or a Saturday, it's gonna say on a Saturday only, meaning it has to be a holiday that's on a Saturday.
Oh,
So
state
or-
holiday or a
Or
Saturday.
on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah,
just want to
yeah,
be clear.
yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm having a hard time following. I mean, I would love to keep going through this, but would it be okay with everybody if we get these in writing clearly and take a look at it again next? Is there an urgency to?
Yeah, I think that's fine, yeah.
Maybe we can redline and go with the clean copy.
I can give it to
Okay.
John if you want, and then,
We'll prepare a red line for
Yeah.
everybody and I'll make suggestions.
yeah, I
That
mean,
makes-
I don't know what to do about,
Yeah,
that situation, but
I think that being inclusive of all religions is important, but I think that there's also, again, it's a slippery slope to try and, offer special dispensation to, certain rules in the city based on everybody's, religious practices as it goes. It's, especially in this case, if it's 5 days of fireworks and, on a holiday where we may have a good, population of Hindus celebrating Diwali there, but what about the Muslim holidays? What about Rosh Hashanah? What about, so if we start going through that, and that's where I guess my question goes to, what does that RSMO cover with state holidays is, and I think that's a good safe coverage for it. But again, there's, we have a growing and diverse population in Darden Prairie, which I know I fully appreciate, but I think we have to also, we have our rules with, as folks come here from other cultures, that there has to be a common ground between. I think that if that RSMO seems to cover a broad, broad enough array of it for those holidays, that would be sufficient in my mind, but I understand what you're saying and I appreciate the thought on it. And it's certainly, I think we should maybe, if anything, allow the permit process to cover some of that as well. We could consider the permit process for those things. So if it's a religious purposes, potentially is a way we could clause that in. But again, this is kind of why we've continued to talk about this for so many months. It's because there's a lot of what ifs, block parties, holiday parties, religious parties, and we're trying to do the right thing for our community and our constituents and making sure everybody feels included. But there's some point, I think we gotta just kind of find a line and just cross it in the sand.
Sounds good.
And it sounds like they've been doing it already. And,
Yeah.
and it's not something, in the, maybe, if they've already been, I mean, people are doing it, like, we're not including anything for January 1st, but I know every January 1st, I hear fireworks going
That's
off.
true.
Back to Alderman Johnson's point, we're gonna put these boundaries up. People can choose to abide by them, and then they can, if the juice is worth the squeeze and they want to pay a ticket, or take the chance. I know on a personal note, one of my friends was a huge fan of, I think this was K-State, and they won, and he had a big firework he set off, and it was like 10:30 at night. And I was like, whoa. Police came by and they said, hey, don't do that anymore. This now, we had a bonfire and TVs outside. So of course it was obviously us and the firework was right there. But, the thing is, police came by and said, hey, so I don't think that, there's, I think that there's a balance to be struck even from the law enforcement side that I doubt, that they're going to go out and start, arresting people for shooting fireworks off during Diwali. So.
Well, you also have the celebrations. Like, I used to light off fireworks when the Cardinals did well in the playoffs, and I don't think I need to worry about that for a long time.
Yeah.
But you have people that, and in 2019, my husband lit off fireworks for the, Stanley Cup. So
Yeah.
there's people that are going to do that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. All we can do is try to put some boundaries around
Yeah.
it that are enforceable. And I think that's what, specifically to the situation that we had last year with Alderman Detweiler that brought forward. So All we do is try, put it out there. So
Sounds good.
that's it. All right, thanks.
I'd like to entertain a motion to postpone Bill 2425 until next meeting.
Second,
First by Alderman Woodman, second by Alderman Goodmeyer.
1 second, there isn't any other changes, Carla?
Well, there are, but I'm
Well-
supposed to give them to the attorney and he will
Okay,
give you a red line item next time.
With suggested wording that
All in favor?
aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We are postponed until next meeting.
motion to permanently, what's the postpone
Postpone.
Bill 2444,
postpone indefinitely.
postpone indefinitely.
Yeah.
No, indefinitely postpone Bill 2444.
Second,
Motion by Alderman Woodman, second by Alderman Goodmeyer. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Bill 2444 is indefinitely postponed. We are moving on to staff communications, city attorney,
I have nothing.
city engineer.
My report is given. Thing has come up with Todd and myself. And I'm trying to meet with people over by the asking the city to try a crosswalk. A lot of information. I was over there looking at what it could be. Apparently, parents are dropping off somewhere near the school. And then their kids are walking to school instead of that, they're going through the drop off line. So Todd is going to try to schedule a meeting with people to try to flush out more information. But I'd share that with the board before we just put some striping somewhere. We might want it. I have some concerns about putting striping down, not have good access, flashing yellow. I mean, there's a little more to this. Hear anything from the school principal or something, why aren't we doing anything? Are going to be out to the part of the affecting my head.
I have had nothing but complaints from residents who live in the cul-de-sac, which is, this is the exact thing that I said about the new townhomes that are gonna be, or villas being put over here. This is exactly what happens. Parents do not want to wait in line to pick their kid up from school, who could walk, by the way, but they don't want to wait in line. So they're pulling into this cul-de-sac.
That's what I suspected. Without
Not only are they pulling in, they're flying in. And they,
Out of the cul-de-sac and they're walking across. the street.
no, some of them walk across the street. The rest of them sit there and wait for their kids to walk across the street. And that area is a very short area. We put the striping on the street to try to direct traffic to get in the right lanes. But you've got parents coming out to go up this way. You've got parents coming out to go this way. You've got now these parents coming out of a cul-de-sac, and you want to put a crosswalk for kids to walk across there. The school, I have talked to the principal myself. I've asked him to please do whatever you can do to tell your parents, do not pull in this cul-de-sac. And the reason being, they block driveways by pulling in the cul-de-sac. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. And then when the person wants to get in their driveway, they're in line. They want to wait, you know?
So I put a timeout on all this moving, marching down without.
Oh, yeah, I would have been very upset had this
It was just a
come out.
request that I believe Todd received from the principal. He called me and asked me about it, so I said, "All right, this."
No.
And I didn't know the history that we're talking about.
And Todd should, I would hope that in the future, anything like this that's gonna go into a subdivision, they would contact the subdivision or one of us who works closely with these subdivisions to know the problems.
He reached out to me first,
Right,
but that's why I brought it up tonight.
but that is the dangerous thing. And
It-
it's dangerous to even have the parent who might want to walk their kid across. The school has a great line
They
to
have-
go in and pull around.
They
And
have
there's
double
no reason these
capacity.
parents can't wait in line.
Double capacity all through that concrete stretch. I dropped my grandson off at Twin Chimneys, right across the highway. They don't allow any of that, but they have a crossing guard, all that. So, we will. Dr. the Principal, maybe be at this meeting,
I'd be happy to.
right? Sounds like-
I think you're putting children in danger because, there are no sidewalks on that side of the street. The sidewalk is on the school side and it goes all the way down Meriwether Lewis. So you're having kids cross into a cul-de-sac full of cars, plus no sidewalks. The ones, so I just think it's a terrible idea.
I agree.
He's getting pressured from some of the parents and particularly one parent who's on the PTA, whatever you want to call it. So
To take that one offline.
it's true.
Yeah. One thing I do want to highlight with that, especially, I did speak to Officer Meyer about that strip right there and the lack of visibility or lack of in your face that the school zone signs have and people not recognizing. One of the reasons why there's so many people speeding through there. And I'd love to, and if the board concurs, I'd love to ask to get a price for replacing those signs with something that flashes, something that catches attention. That makes it very dangerous for coming down there at 40 miles an hour. Any objection to that from the board?
What, I don't know where you're talking about.
School, the school zone signs.
Oh, on N? Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I would say in and then the other on Feisy. Both those.
I mean, anytime there's a school zone, there should be those type of signs.
Safety, yeah.
I'll send Todd a message tonight. Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
I
welcome.
knew there had to be something more than. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, in lieu of the city administrator, city clerk, do you have anything for us tonight? Alderman,
Talk about Stump Road.
Let's talk about stuff.
Now, my understanding is they'll put riffraff rocks in there. Correct?
Sure, on the drawings, they show a certain amount of downstream traffic. I actually requested to her to add more project zone. Certain distance. From what was originally shown, added that. Lines. Maybe.
Do you think the flow of the water slowed down any with pillars or anything like that put in place?
Well, I say that we wrote down in this.
Right,
The thing to do, it's not my design. I'm going to bring all out. You say that good time of concentration. Water flow one way, essentially the same. I would maybe back check each of them, probably one. The second additional. So all I can do at this point, I'm happy to call HM.
Yeah.
Ask them, what calculations they do. Possibly.
and going further, let's get a price at whatever fancy word you use, pillars that you put in the ground,
They're called energy
energy dissipators. What would be the cost to put those in there now before we get down the line and decide? No, it seems like there is gonna be an increase for water, so We gotta slow it down, we gotta slow it down.
Potential of velocity increase, not necessarily. Light flow.
But
The
also
velocity of the water.
the velocity
Right.
of the curbs, I mean, and it seems like, well, I can say Carla and Ryan have toured that creek with myself and Joel. And it can be pretty shocking to see how much erosion has been, because
Yeah.
you see this electric fence wire that's like 2 feet in the air, which was buried at one point in time. You see the fact that trees that he's planted in the back of his yard are now part of the creek embankment. I invite Mike and you to come out with us and walk that, to be able to see for yourself what we're talking about in that meeting, which I attended, which I really want to go to every meeting. I didn't even know, they're once a month, but it did seem like Stall, the guy, Doug, seemed pretty, he didn't seem like he seemed a little shocked about what they've seen. I mean, he's gotten comments from H&R Green about how bad that looks. I mean, I would, again, encourage people, the other
Well,
aldermen, to come out and take a look at it.
my point is, there's gonna be erosion on creeks and all that, no matter what. I mean, that's normal, that's just.
This is abnormal. This is,
But that's already exists, okay?
We have-
That's something that is already, that hasn't been affected by what we're doing now.
just
My
like-
point is things are gonna happen and that's just natural nature. I don't wanna cause any additional erosion than normally gonna happen. I mean,
Are you not interested in touring that?
well, no, I'm more than happy to
Okay.
tour. My point is that's all existing. That's what's been happening over the years. That's nothing I want to make sure whatever we do does not add to anything that is normal.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
wouldn't
the
be,
sewers are not connected.
Right.
Erosion has been.
Right.
So,
well, they talked about doing what do they call it? Some sort of stabilization of the embankment or whatever. That what they talked.
well, I have talked with, like, the mayor where the South Road project several years ago. I had always thought that if they had to break up concrete, that we could take some of that in concrete, not to have to leave the site and use it downstream to help at the curve.
Mitigate.
If we do that. So just receive the price for some of that additional work downstream.
It's around $25,000, but keep in mind that the downstream study was approved at one point in time, never done, and that was $22,000. And that there's funds put aside for stormwater, which I think it has over $1 million on it. This is a $3 million project that I think, first of all, I think the downstream study should have happened, because maybe we won't have these issues. And secondly, I think the funds, it's not an exorbitant amount, and if we can prevent further problems down the road by being proactive instead of reactive, why not do it?
You send that estimate out. Is that in a form that you send it?
Yeah, it just came in at like 5:30.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind forwarding that over, I'd love to see the scope.
And we would love to see you two out if I know you're busy, but.
I walked it from the other side quite a few times. on
Okay,
the Canvas
alright.
Cove.
Okay.
There's a lot of water that goes down there. And on the Canvas Cove side, it's dug in pretty hard, so I can.
I have been out there.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question about what if we don't do anything quickly, right? So I'm just looking at the erosion, but it's not probably just one house. It could be a couple houses. What could happen to the board? What could happen to the city if people come complain or file lawsuits or something? I don't know how that works. Or is there?
But let's go back a minute.
Okay.
All the erosion and all that stuff being done now is what is there.
I don't know. The way it looks.
We have not caused anything yet.
So
We have not connected to sewers
I
or
hear you.
anything else. So the city has not done anything to cause the erosion that's behind it.
But with the rain and everything and the trees that's been gone already, something's happening. that hasn't happened in years. So I can't say I was there to see it, but I was there to see how the land used to look. And it just happened over this process of the year.
That's been going
No, that's
for a
been
long.
on for long.
Hey, we can pull up some video. Joel has been beating this drum since the beginning. Oh, unfortunately, we don't have public commenter in this part, but I would love to stick around and chat with you. And I think many here would. I think the crux of this is going to be ownership of that land on the campus code side. That's all HOA common ground. I believe on the Whispering Pine side, that's owned by the individual lot owners. That the case?
That I don't know.
So I think there's pieces and parts there about public funds being used on private property and things like that. So there are some legal hurdles I think we need to look at before we make any concrete decisions.
Sounds good.
But that, in my opinion, that's not a no, that's not a yes, that's a, let's take a really hard look at it with fresh eyes. Anyone else? Any other comments? All right, I have one, got a comment earlier about the situation down in Tennessee, especially in Asheville. There are some groups here that are taking it upon themselves to coordinate with local charities and drive down supplies. The requests that have come in so far, water, baby formula, and dog food. I would say if anyone wants to bring in any of those things, water we're pretty well set on. We've got some Sam's and some others have donated water. And then we have a few state reps that are coordinating getting those things down to some missions in Tennessee. Baby formula and pet food are two that are still needed down there and welcoming donations. If anyone wants to bring any of that up to City Hall, I will personally make sure that it gets on those trucks that are moving down, or at least the next week. We're going to play it by ear, but
So that's a timeline.
that's the timeline for this group that is
Okay.
moving things
Okay.
down there from here. I think everyone's playing it by ear, but for at least the next week, we'll have trucks going that direction. I'm sure we can make that happen.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 610-021, section 1 and
1, 3, and 13.
13.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Wilson. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I.
Aye.
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 Aye. We're doubly
They
sure.
Stop recording. How do you want?
Leave a recording.
But you not stop recording.
You can mute the mic so they don't hear people talking in here, but
Got
step out.
Gotway?
I think you just dropped off. Just so everyone knows, we will, all we're doing when we come back is adjourning the meeting. So no need to stick around. That is a great question, but I will stay here as long as you want to be here.
Well, residents in the cul-de-sac
I would expect less than 30 minutes.
from 3 to 5.
Yes.
And then they also, then. Every subdivision that's here around it, folks. So we need no parking sign. All because of these people. We're crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. Especially you, Arnie. Thanks to St. Charles County Police.
Please don't give Arnie a big.
Thank you, Arnie.
All right, I will entertain a motion to close.
So move.
So
Do you, where's Kim?
No.
All in favor?
Uh,
All opposed? Ayes have it.
by
We
the
are done.
order of Jeff.